Okay, so I thought it would be useful to have a little look at some example answers to some of the questions that might come up on paper 1. So here we have a fairly standard 5-mark question. We've got to briefly describe at the beginning. It is a 5-mark question, so we know the technique is we're looking for 5 different facts that answer the question. So if we just look fully at the question now, briefly describe the events in 1932 and 33. There's our date range that led to Hitler becoming Chancellor. So Hitler becoming Chancellor are the key words. So we're looking for events that happened in 32 and 33. So let's have a look at this answer. I will highlight where they picked up marks. So there are a number of events in 1932 to 33 and 33 that led to Hitler becoming Chancellor. Now, it's not worth any marks, but it's very good practice. What this person has done here is they've reworded the question into a statement to start us off. Okay, so you can see that there. And here come some of the marks they pick up. For example, in the election in July 1932, the Nazi Party became the largest party in the Reichstag. So there is where I'm giving them their first mark. It's a really good key fact, backed up by a date there. Election, July 1932, they become the largest party. There was another election in November 1932 when the Nazi Party remained as the largest party in the Reichstag. There's another fact for you. Election 1932. Nazi Party remained the largest party in the Reichstag. On both these occasions, Hitler should have been made Chancellor, but was overlooked in favour of von Papen and von Schleicher. Now, good details, but not really giving me at that point a reason why Hitler became Chancellor. So let's read on. But neither man was good enough as Chancellor, which left the way clear for Hitler to become Chancellor in 1933. This is the bit where they get their mark. It's not the fact that von Papen and von Schleicher were given the opportunity to be Chancellor. The fact is that they were useless at it, and it left the way clear for Hitler to then take over in 1933. So at this stage here, we've got 1, 2, 3 marks out of 5. Hitler had also become more popular when he tried to become president in 1932. So we've got an increase in popularity in 1932. Now, at that stage you got 4 out of 5, but this person goes on and gives us a little bit of extra detail about that one fact there, so this is where they get their 5th mark. He lost to Hindenburg, but still got lots of votes, which made it clear he was popular and people trusted him. So that's a similar point. They've actually taken it a step further and given me a bit of explanation. So we've got 1 fact, 2 facts, 3 facts, 4 facts, with the 4th one developed to give us 5 out of 5. A very good answer. Okay, so here we come to a 7-mark question. 7-mark question with an explain at the beginning. So let's just highlight that. Explain. It's worth 7 marks. Now the technique for this one is you're looking for 2 separate paragraphs. Explain one reason and explain a second reason. That will get you top marks if you do it well enough. So let's just have a little look at the question. Explain how chance has helped developments in medicine. So we're looking at how chance has developed medicine. So there's our keywords. So the first thing you do before you start writing is think of 2 separate reasons or 2 separate ways that chance has helped. And just before we do mark the entire paper, let's just have a little look at the ones that this person's used. So we've got penicillin is there, and then we've got the work of Ambrose Paré here. So there are 2 separate reasons. So let's just have a look at the first paragraph. With an explain answer, you're looking to give a little bit of detail, but the key thing is explaining back to what the question is wanting you to do. And it's a good technique to try and get into a 3-step explanation where you try and explain it 3 times, developing it a little bit further. So let's have a look, see if this candidate did that. Penicillin is an example of medicine developing because of chance. Again, they've set up using the question in their opening sentence. The discovery of penicillin was by chance because Fleming was working on something else at the time, and the tiny spore landed on one of his dirty dishes that had been left out. So here is an explanation of how it can be linked to chance. That word because tells us we're going into an explanation. And this is where I was talking about going into 3 further steps. Don't just leave your answer there, see if you can take it further. This shows it was by chance because it was not part of his experiment, just something that happened. So again, you're developing it further to explain why it was to do with chance. This shows that chance helped medicine to develop because this accident led to the development of antibiotics which can kill off infections. This was a new discovery and helped to fight against deadly disease. So this person's actually taken it nearly 4 steps Here's our first explanation up here. Fleming left out some dirty dishes, and they go 1, 2, more steps, and then there's a little one at the end as well. So we actually go through 3, nearly 4 steps. So at this stage here, this paragraph here is probably going to get you about 4 out of 7. So just over 50% of the marks, around about a C grade on that one paragraph. The thing that turns it into an A star, is when you start explaining another reason. So here we go. Another time when chance helped medicine to develop was during the Renaissance, with Ambrose Paré, was working as an army surgeon and discovered his cool salve. Now up to this stage here, this is just detail and description. There's no link to chance, no link to discovering anything that was really going to develop medicine. They're just giving us details. This discovery was by chance because he had run out of the normal treatment for gunshot wounds, hot oil, and had to make something else to use. So there's our first reason why it's linked to chance, and hopefully this person is going to go on and explain further, first of all, why it was chance and also how it helped. The cool salve is a chance development because he did not have time to find out if the oil, egg and water would actually improve or make patients worse. So here's a development of the explanation of why it was by chance. He wasn't able to test it first. Overall, this is an example of chance helping medicine to develop because it did work and was actually a better treatment than the hot oil. Therefore, an advance had been made, but only by accident. So there we go again. We've got our 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. And this answer, with those 2 paragraphs, would get this candidate 7 out of 7, 100% of the marks. So the next answer we're going to look at is the answer to an 8-mark question. 8-mark questions are comparison questions, so within the question you are looking for what the exam board would like you to compare. So let's just have a little look. There was no major progress made in surgery in the 19th century until the work of Lister. How far do you agree with this statement? So that what they're asking you to do, the comparison is actually you agree with this statement on the one hand, but you disagree on the other hand. So the technique for this answer is 3 separate paragraphs, 1 that takes one side of the answer, 1 that takes the other side, so there's your comparison, and then a conclusion. So let's see how this candidate gets on. So straight away we see second word in the paragraph is disagree, so we can see that they're taking the disagree side of the argument first of all. Really good technique, it shows the comparison is going to be happening. I disagree with this statement because of the work that had been done with anaesthetics. So there's our detail. They've picked out something that happened before Lister and antiseptics, so their job now is to explain how anaesthetics disagrees with this statement, how anaesthetics was actually quite a good development and it actually happened before Lister. So let's have a little look. Anaesthetics numb the pain that a patient feels during surgery, and chloroform had been discovered and developed as the best one to use. It made surgery less painful, so surgeons were able to take their time rather than rushing operations. Good detail so far. Rushing operations often led to further injury to the patient or even death. Surgeons could also find out more about the body because they could take their time, as the patient was not moving around in pain during the operation. Therefore, it is wrong to state that no major progress has been made in surgery in the 19th century before Lister. So that's their paragraph. So I'm just going to pick out some of the things that prove that developments had been made before Lister. So we've got here surgery less painful, rushing operations often led to further injury or even death, so after anaesthetics that was solved, and also surgeons could find out more about the body because they could take their time. And then the really key sentence is this one here, just brings it back to the question. It's always a really good idea to go back to the statement with your final sentence of a paragraph, and you can see again this person has just reworded the statement and put it into their paragraph. So remember we started with a disagree, so we're looking for the word agree within the first couple of words of this second paragraph. However, I also agree with the statement. Although anaesthetics overcame the major problem of pain during surgery, the even more dangerous part of going to hospital was infection. So we're now starting to link in with the work of Lister and antiseptics. So this person is starting to talk about infection being a worse problem than pain. Surgeons using dirty tools and operating in rooms that were not sterilised led to open wounds being easily infected with any number of germs. Therefore, the first major progress was when Lister discovered an antiseptic that could be used to clean the room, surgeon and tools before the operation started. This led to a huge drop in the number of deaths from infection during surgery. So once again, this person is now proving why they agree with this statement. This is the work of Lister. That's why it's so important. Therefore, it is much more important than anaesthetics because that just made a patient more comfortable, whereas Lister saved them from deadly infections. Again, linking back to the statement in the question, looking at Lister and why he was more important. So, at this stage, you would probably get about 6 out of 8, maybe 5 out of 8 or 6 out of 8 for that answer. 2 paragraphs to compare. The thing that will tip you into 7 out of 8 and 8 out of 8 for A-star candidates is if you also include a conclusion that comes to your final decision. So let's see if this candidate does that. Overall, I agree with the statement. So we can see they've made a choice there. I agree with the statement. Lister did make the first major progress in surgery because he saved people from infection. Also, there were some forms of anaesthetic that existed before, such as using alcohol. Therefore, using chloroform was a solution to a problem that did have other solutions, whereas Lister's solved a problem that no one else had ever been able to. So the point they're making here is that Lister is more important because actually there were forms of pain relief before chloroform, but antiseptics was a new fight against infection. It was a brand new thing that Lister was trying to do. It also made it more likely for patients to opt for surgery. Here we go. They needed because they no longer feared infection, and this saved lives in the long run. So it saved a lot of lives. So the point they're making there is actually the big thing that stopped people from going for surgery was not the pain, but actually the risk of infection. I think patients felt they could possibly put up with a little bit of pain, but the infection was going to be deadly. So that answer there, 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph that has the comparison, and then a final paragraph that comes to an overall conclusion would be worth 8 marks.